Welcome back to the box van build. If you're new, my name is Max and I am turning this Ford box van into a camper. In some recent videos, I installed some windows on the van and then we did some more resealing to try and keep water outside of the van and just keep the interior nice and dry. Well, today we are going to be getting started building a roof rack on the van and I am so excited for this one. We're building this roof rack so that I can install some solar panels on the roof of the van. And this roof rack will be a perfect base, a foundation to get started on our solar setup and electrical system. Thanks for tuning into another video of the box van build, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, so our roof rack is going to be made up of some extruded aluminum. I had to custom order a bunch of pieces of different sizes to build this roof rack. And I think the first thing we're gonna get started with today is kind of assembling the perimeter of the roof rack. So right here I have a total of 4 5-foot sections of extruded aluminum, and I am going to be joining 2 of these together to make a 10-foot section. 10 foot is the length of the box. So these are going to be the sides of the roof rack that run from the front towards the back of the van. To join them together, I am going to be using these brackets. The plan is to do 2 on each side, and then I also have a bunch of T-nuts and bolts, a ton of hardware that I got, so we'll screw it all together. I don't know exactly what these are called, but they are kind of a double T-nut almost, and just make it a little bit easier to assemble this together. I'm also going to be using some red Loctite on all of these bolts here, just to make sure that when this is up on the roof and it's vibrating around when I'm driving, that these don't rattle loose. And the only reason I didn't just buy a 10-foot length extruded aluminum piece is just because the place I ordered them did not sell anything over 8 foot, so I had to go with 2 5-foot sections. We have 1 bracket attached on the bottom side. Now we're going to take the other bracket and attach it just to make sure it's nice and strong. All right, 2 5-foot sections have now been turned into a 10-foot piece of extruded aluminum. I'm so glad I decided to use 2 brackets. This just feels so strong. Let's go ahead and build the other one. Our second kind of piece of the roof rack here is now complete. Looking at this 10-foot section, I think it's clear this is going to be a pretty big roof rack, and that is a good thing because I want to be able to use as much of the space as possible up on the top of the roof. The next thing we're going to work on here is kind of building the perimeter of the roof rack. And I'm gonna do it up on the top of the van because, to be honest, these extruded aluminum pieces actually get pretty heavy. And I think it's just gonna be a lot less awkward to build it up here. So right now I have one of the 10-foot sections. This runs the length of the van. And then I have, this is a 78-inch section, and that is the width of the van. And we are going to have 1 78 section in the front, 1 in the back. And basically right now we're just building a big rectangle. Now to connect these corners together, I got these corner brackets here. I got a total of 8, so same thing we did when we were connecting the 2 5-foot sections together. We will have 1 on the top and 1 on the bottom, just to make sure this roof rack is nice and strong. Now I'm thinking this might be easier to actually build on the ground because I'm realizing that it's going to be pretty hard to attach these brackets on the other side without flipping this over. So actually I think I'm going to take this down and we'll assemble it on the ground and then just try and figure out a way to lift this up. This is going to be one big roof rack when it's done. So I put 4 brackets on each of the corners. It's not fully tightened down yet. Just wanted to roughly connect it together here. And now we're going to flip this roof rack, the frame to the roof rack, over, and we're going to attach those same brackets on the other side so that we have brackets on both the top and the bottom. So I have the outside frame of the roof rack assembled here. I used Loctite on all of the bolts to make sure they don't vibrate out when this is on top of the van and I'm driving with it. Next, we are going to install the middle bars of the roof rack. I didn't buy a ton of these because I figured I could always add more later, but I did mess up the measurements a little bit when I had them cut by the company, so we need to trim them down just a couple of inches here. I was thinking of using the jigsaw with a metal blade, but instead I'm gonna use this new metal blade I got for my table saw, and we'll give this a shot. See how it does cutting through some extruded aluminum. And boom, the middle pieces fit. Now I got these little corner brackets here, and this is how I'm going to attach the middle cross members. Is we'll just put some of these brackets on each side, just use the T-nuts that drop into the slots and just bolt them up. And that's what's so great about this extruded aluminum, is that it's so customizable and you can really build it exactly how you want. And I also got these little covers to go on the end, just to hide the aluminum. So now that the roof rack is pretty much assembled, we're going to move on to making the mounting brackets. And these are going to allow us to actually attach the roof rack to the roof of the van. I bought this 6061 aluminum. It is, I believe, a 1/4 inch thick, so it should be pretty strong. It's 2 inches by 3 inches, kind of like an L shape here. Basically, my plan with this is to cut it down into about 6-inch brackets. And then these brackets will be mounted along the length of the van, and they will screw into the roof rack, holding it down in a couple different points. So to start, we are just going to turn this 48-inch piece into a bunch of 6-inch pieces. I just finished making all of these brackets here, and I have to say, guys, the metal blade with the table saw works so well. I know this is aluminum, I know aluminum is super soft, but it cut through this aluminum like it was nothing. Now, I got this drill press on Facebook Marketplace recently, and I'm so excited about it. And next we are going to work on drilling some holes so that we can bolt these brackets in. So I marked out locations to drill holes in all of these brackets, and now we are going to take our drill press and just drill out a ton of holes here. I finished drilling holes in all of the brackets for the bottom mounting. And I just pulled this bracket off of our roof rack that we installed earlier. And the reason for that is I am going to line it up here and use this bracket to mark out where we need to drill holes into our brackets that we're making. So that way these bolt right up to the extruded aluminum. The top of this bracket is flush with the top of the extruded aluminum. So by lining it up with the top of the brackets that we're making, the goal is the extruded aluminum will be nice and flush with the top of these brackets. We have quite the mess of aluminum here now, but I'm pretty sure our brackets are ready to go. So we have 2 holes in the bottom there, and these are going to be for bolting it into kind of the aluminum track on the edge of the box. And then we have 4 holes up top, and these are going to be for bolting it to the extruded aluminum. All right, welcome back. It is the next day. Yesterday we finished up making these brackets, and today we are going to get started by attaching a few of them along the perimeter of the roof rack here. And then after that, I'll lift it up, figure out some way to get it up to the top of the van, and then we'll need to drill some holes to bolt these mounting brackets to the top of the van. But let's start with getting these attached. These mounting brackets are actually designed to go this way. And the reason for that is so that we have as much space as possible on the roof rack. Alright, so I installed some of the brackets. Unfortunately, I ran out of the T-nuts, so I can't put all of the brackets on here right now. But we've got 4 in the corners and then 2 more, so we have a total of 6 out of 8 right now. And now we gotta figure out how to get this roof rack up on top of the van. I'm thinking I'll back the Sequoia into this spot and then try and get the rack up on top of the Sequoia, and then from there transition it to the top of the van, but it's gonna be a little awkward for sure. Guys, the roof rack is on. Big thank you to my brother Owen. There's no way I could have gotten that up there without him. It's just so awkward, so it looks pretty sick. Now time to figure out how to bolt this thing down. For some reason, I'm a little bit nervous about this, just drilling into the rails along the side of the van. I just want to make sure this all bolts up properly. And I know when you're drilling this many holes on this big of a surface, it's really important to get things lined up accurately. So we got some holes marked out. Now we are going to just move this roof rack. And I've got I think this is called a step down drill bit. And we're gonna start drilling some holes through this aluminum kind of channel along the edge of the box. And that's what we're gonna be bolting the roof rack to. I just finished up drilling all of those holes in the roof. Before we go ahead and mount these mounting brackets, I am going to take some spray paint and paint these black. I was kind of looking at the silver. I was debating keeping the silver, but I think it will kind of fit better if these are painted black and match the extruded aluminum. While the paint dries, I'm going to work on sanding down some of these. I don't know if they're bolts or rivets or what they are, but they just stick up a little bit. And in order for our brackets to mount flush, I'm just gonna take a flap disc and try and flatten this out a bit. That smoothed out much easier than I thought. Our brackets are painted now, and I think we are going to work on installing these. Our brackets are bolted down and they feel so sturdy. When I pull on this bracket, I can feel the entire van moving. So I'm pretty confident with these. And next we are going to try and start bolting up this roof rack. Hopefully you guys can see behind me, the roof rack is bolted down as much as I could right now. Unfortunately, I ran out of hardware. I ran out of T-nuts, and you can't just buy those at the hardware stores here. So unfortunately had to place an online order, and we have to wait for those to arrive before we can finish bolting everything down. At this point though, I have a couple bolts attached to the 4 brackets in each of the corners, so I feel pretty good about that, just that this rack is going to line up, and so far it feels super sturdy. Now I also have another cross member that's going to go in the front of the fan. I just can't install it right now because again, I ran out of hardware. But once some more T-nuts arrive, we'll throw that other cross member up in front of the fan. We've got solar panels on each side of the fan. We've got solar panels in the back, and then right in front of the Max Air fan, in between the solar panels, we're gonna have this Starlink. Now, I apologize about my voice here. I'm still recovering from being sick over the past couple of days, but that is going to wrap it up for today's video and the process of building a custom roof rack for my box van. I'm so excited with how this project turned out because when I first bought the box van, I knew eventually I was going to need a roof rack, but at the same time, I didn't think this was something I was going to be able to do. I thought for sure I was going to have to go to a fabrication shop to get help with this one. So it is just so cool to see this roof rack come together, to be able to build a custom roof rack like this, and a roof rack that honestly I think turned out pretty well. If you guys enjoyed this video and are interested in seeing more of the box van conversion, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It's also a completely free way to help support my channel, and I really do appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.